Good evening, people. Welcome to my second edition on Community Health Screen UK. Today, my guest will be from Istanbul. My guest will be Dr. ERAY ÖZKURAL, who's going to join me shortly. And here he is. Welcome, Dr. ÖZKURAL.
Good to be here.
You're okay? You've got good sound and everything?
I believe so.
Yeah?
Well, so far so good. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you for coming on the show. It's a pleasure to have you. Before I start with the intro and everything, what I'd like to do is introduce you to my guests who are watching this evening. And perhaps if you could start by just explaining a little bit about yourself and what you do and what you're about.
All right. Well, I'm an AI researcher, so computer scientist. I work on artificial general intelligence. That's my main field of interest. Right, so I'm building computers that think as well as human. So, right, they can learn as efficiently and as widely as human, and they can automate things that humans do, like, say, data science or programming.
Okay. That's very interesting, but without a subconscious, I'm presuming, without the consciousness. So computers that can do things that humans can do without the consciousness. Is that correct, more or less?
Well, not exactly.
That's another area. Okay.
That's a long story, but
of course,
there are cognitive architectures that are like the human brain. So they follow the functional neuroanatomy. They are pretty much a model of the human brain.
Okay.
These aren't available yet, but I'm working on one. And so there are a few research groups that are doing similar things. And I think we'll be hearing about them in a few years. And these will be very capable things. And they will be able to, learn on their own and build their knowledge, skills, like humans or animals. We'll first, of course, target animal-level intelligence, say, like a rodent or a small monkey, But then we'll try to get to human level eventually with that, and those things will have some manner of conscious processing.
Okay.
Right. So they will indeed have a self-reflection. They will be able to model themselves in the world and think about themselves like animals and humans do.
Sure.
And they will be able to reason and communicate using language. So we think they will have the whole gamut of skills, cognitive functions that humans ordinarily associate with consciousness. But as to the question of whether it will experience like human, of course, we don't know yet. And if it did, that would probably be awarded with a few Nobels. We haven't quite gotten there in neuroscience, and so that's an open scientific problem.
Sure.
We do not exactly know what constitutes experiential states.
That's to do with the neuroscience with the brain and stuff, isn't it?
Right. So it might be, say, in these fancy quantum states in the brain or something like that. We haven't quite located it.
Okay.
But once we do, of course, it will be possible to replicate those states. And then we will make sure that our AIs or brain simulations have similar states.
Okay.
So I predict it's possible, right?
I was reading somewhere about having the images from the brain or the memories from the brain downloaded onto a computer chip. Is that humanly possible?
Right, it is. There's, of course, a very famous project going on. It's called the Human Brain Project.
Yeah,
whether it will succeed, we don't really know, but it's an EU project, and a substantial amount of funding has been brought into this project, and they are trying to replicate the success of the Human Genome Project.
That's it. Yes, that's exactly what I was reading.
Yes, and they're improving the brain scanning technology so that we'll be able to scan whole human brains at nanometer resolution. This will give us the basic data sets to be able to simulate the human brain. Of course, this will take substantial processing speed. It will require big supercomputers, basically, and they're working on that too. But combining this scanning technology with electrophysiological simulation of the nervous system at the neural level, at the level of neural topology.
Yeah.
So, right. So it actually works on the neural image, and that's a very powerful approach, and I think it is likely to work.
Okay.
Although there are some criticisms, this is an emerging technology for sure.
Of course it is, absolutely. It's the way forward, yeah, definitely. Right, what I'm going to do, Dr. ÖZKURAL, I am going to ask you your first question for this evening, if that's okay. Right, because I know you're a professor in the field when it comes to sort of longevity. Is it possible to extend the human lifespan? I mean, we see centenarians, we see people living longer. You know, can we go beyond the centenarian? What's your views on that?
Well, scientifically, it certainly is possible.
Okay.
Mainly because there are immortal biological organisms.
Okay, right? I like the word immortal.
Immortal, right. Sometimes in the literature, people call it biological immortality.
Okay.
Right? So like the jellyfish. So some creatures simply do not die. They die from natural causes, of course.
Yeah. Some sea creatures, I believe. Yeah, that's right.
They do not really age the way we do. So, you might be wondering why. That might, of course, be an adaptation. That
to the environment.
That we perish guarantees that fitter specimens will replace us in the future. So that might be an evolutionary adaptation, certainly, at a meta level. But there are many such meta level adaptations in evolution. So it is quite possible that when the organisms got complex, this was what worked.
Okay. So you reckon we can live beyond 100 years old?
There are supercentenarians. But they are rare.
Yeah.
Now there are rumors, not quite proven, that there have been many people who have lived beyond even 150 years.
Okay.
Right.
I haven't come across that. I've probably heard it as a myth. But
so maybe some are myths, and maybe some are they just didn't have these large surveys back then. Who knows? Right.
Okay. So you reckon that culture plays a part? Do you reckon genes play a part? Do you reckon diet plays a part? What do you think will actually obviously contribute towards?
Right. I think it all plays a part. They all play their role in examining
simultaneously. Yeah.
Right. So it's a synergistic effect. But when we look at the places where supercentenarians are concentrated, we see that there are some commonalities, and I know you're really curious about food and nutrition, so that's quite relevant.
Yeah.
So you might have heard about Okinawa.
Okay, I've heard about it. Yeah.
And Ikara. Right. So these are two islands where there are a lot of supercentenarians, and scientists, of course, wondered why. And they defined some peculiarities in the lifestyles and the diet of the people there. So it turns out that a plant-based diet without too much meat works. It helps extend human life, and
of course.
I think afterwards they've done a lot of studies to correlate diets with lifespan. And now we have a clearer idea of how it affects. But before that, I like to say it's also about genes. Now, people who live there might have developed these adaptations. So, longevity adaptations. They might have selected for longevity, right? It's quite possible, and the environment might be suitable. Their habitats it is particularly suitable for this, because what's the thing about islands? They're remote. They're and these islands are clean places, not industrial towns. So it's
not concrete jungles. So more foresty, more greenery, more therapeutic, clean water, clean diet, environmental factors, less pollution, less stress.
A lot less pollution. I think actually that's the biggest factor that the scientists worked on those cases first missed. Okay, so that's my opinion. But I believe that petrochemicals and heavy metals,
of course,
decrease human lifespan substantially.
Of course they do.
I believe. Okay, so I'm going to state this, and I got a lot of flack for this when I spoke about it on some science pages, but I will say it anyway. The most important cause of these mystery diseases, including cancer and autism, are petrochemical pollutants and heavy metals. So this is why we're having these. It's because we're constantly pushing our bodies into a lot of stress with, and the body has to work very hard to clean itself. It's of course going to degrade.
Extra pressure on the organs,
I mean, like it's going to result in DNA degradation eventually. So even if you don't get cancer and die, you will live shorter. This toxic stress is going to decrease human lifespan, and I think that's what's happening in those islands. They work in their gardens, grow their own vegetables, and attend to their goats and whatnot, and go fishing. And this is, of course, a much healthier lifestyle. First of all, the diet and exercise combined improves human health span.
Of course it does. Of course it does. Yeah, of
course
it does.
Right. So living in densely populated cities is one major factor, one major barrier to a long health span. And by health span, we mean the period of time where you have top health, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Right. So what we see in modern life is that although people have considerably longer lifespan, their health spans haven't improved so much. So that's the biggest problem, actually, from a medical point of view. And and a caveat emptor, like I'm not a medical scientist as you are.
Yeah.
I'm a computer scientist. So my opinions should not be construed as medical recommendations, but merely as pointers to research, so people can follow up and look for this stuff and do their own research.
Absolutely.
Right. So, but it's all interesting stuff, and this is an emerging transdisciplinary field.
Yeah,
now,
of course it is.
We had gerontology, as you know, but this field was most about taking care of our old people, right?
Absolutely.
So, it was, remedies for old people. But now this has gotten a new meaning, and it's becoming a longevity science. It's becoming about extending human lifespan and health span. So extending human health span is probably the correct scientific focus of this field.
Sure.
And we'll see a lot of medical interventions that try to achieve this. But it's important that we understand what natural things have happened that help extend human lifespan. So that was a very important question you asked.
Yeah, that's right. Because we see a lot of things happening where people will have a gastric bypass, they will have a gastric band, they won't consider changing their diet, getting more exercise. They will go to the extreme measures of undergoing surgery without allowing food or exercise to be some of their medicine. And we know sometimes that with medicine, long-time benefits or advantages of what have you have been on things like metformin, which can cause liver damage or bring on a stroke later on, things like this. So in moderation, we have to take things, we have to do our own research. We have to go and visit our GP, regularly, get our blood pressure done, check our glucose, our sodium levels, loads of things, make sure the heart is working properly. And if things aren't going right, we have to put them right, either with the help of the GP, the general practitioner, or with the help of knowledge like yourself and what have you. So definitely. Right, let me get on to my next question. Well, we actually probably covered some of this, but I'll include it anyway. What is the importance of diet and nutrition, and can we live longer by eating better and fasting, or is it just another fad? What do you reckon? What's your uptake on fasting, Dr. ÖZKURAL?
Well, as you know, intermittent fasting has become quite popular, and this was first tried in the longevity community. People who are enthusiastic about longevity.
Okay. Yeah,
people tried it on themselves, and they saw it worked really well. And now it's gotten very popular. It's not a fad; it actually works. And
of course it does. Yeah.
Right. So it works by keeping our bodies partially in ketosis. So there are two metabolic pathways in the human body, as you know. One is the a glucose-dependent pathway, and the other one uses ketones. So this is what happens when you have to digest.
Have an equilibrium. You have an equilibrium of both, basically.
Right. Right. But the modern diet or standard American diet or standard Western diet. Okay, so what the food industry has pushed on people, right? So fast food and all the processed food. This is carbohydrate heavy.
Of course, yeah. And, not so much proteins, more carbohydrates and starchy food, carbonated drinks, sugars, high fat and high salts.
Right. So not very healthy, of course, but more importantly, this is going to result in insulin sensitivity because you're overworking your glucose pathway. So this is putting a lot of stress on the body.
Of course it is.
And of course, you're getting fat.
Of course, you're putting on weight. Yes.
Yeah, which is even worse because extra weight, is probably the biggest factor again for heart
obesity.
Disease.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
Yeah.
And heart and circulation problems probably are caused by not by eating too much cholesterol, but because you're fat.
Yeah, because we need some healthy cholesterols. We need the low density ones, not the high density ones, don't we?
Right, but if you're a fit person, if you take into account the dynamic picture of metabolism, if you eat a bit of excess as a fit person, it doesn't matter. But as an unfit person, then it's very hard for the body to process that.
Of course it is. Of course it is.
Right. So I think that's what's happening there. But with more points. Right.
That's fine. Okay, I'll go over to your next question about the longevity science. What has been the most promising recent developments in longevity science?
Right. Well, there are a lot of things, but in my opinion,
I know you've put some stuff on the side here, so people can have a look at if they want to follow you, or if they want to look at some of the programs that are actually running at the moment. But if you want to explain a little bit about it in your own words.
Of course. Yamanaka factors was very important. So these are chemical factors that reprogram cells into a youthful state. So it's actually rejuvenation.
Are we talking about the telomere cells, or are we talking about the senescence?
It is not about senescence, really. It's more like adult cells into young cells.
Okay.
Right.
So we're talking about degenerated cells turning into new cells. So we're taking away, is it the atrophy from the cells and making them newer? Is that correct? You're regenerating them.
We're rejuvenating them.
Rejuvenating.
Right. So we're taking them to a youthful state.
Okay.
It's a new method of cellular programming. And Shinya Yamanaka earned some prizes with that study. So this is, of course, not quite tried on humans yet.
Okay.
Right. So they're trying to make it safe for humans. They're trying to find a therapy that works for humans. But until that happens, the Yamanaka therapy or something as powerful happens that can actually rejuvenate the human body at a cellular level, right?
Okay.
We need other interventions.
Okay.
And one of the most promising things recently that works right now is senolytic therapies. Therapies that eliminate senescent or old cells.
That's right. Yeah, that's the program that I was looking at. Yeah.
Right. So this has been tried at Mayo Clinic for heart disease, and
that's right.
Right. There are a number of such drugs. The first one they found was the dasatinib quercetin combination, but there are actually a whole range of senolytic agents, and one of them that's quite safe is fisetin, a bioflavonoid. Cheap enough to try, and also there's an azithromycin therapy that also works. So they tried this stuff on rats, and if it works, then they move up to humans, right? So they're actually trying these things, and some people are voluntarily trying them on themselves in the longevity community. And so some researchers have tried it. I have tried it. Like I've taken the rest because because it was interesting enough. Azithromycin therapy can eliminate like 99% of all senescent cells. It has some risk, so I'm not saying like go and try it on yourself. Don't do that, okay? But it's interesting to know that such a thing exists. And once you kill all the old cells, this of course convinces your body to regenerate. And these old cells are the major cause of all the visible consequences of aging, like wrinkles, all the stiff muscles, tissues, lines, everything, like all of the degeneration in our organs and tissues are really caused by the concentration of senescent cells, because these cells do not function well. They secrete a lot of toxic stuff. They aren't efficient. And so what happens is you have a buildup of weird materials in the extracellular matrix, and organs function worse. This includes the skin, and overall efficiency of the metabolism is impacted, which means your body simply doesn't use the materials as well as it used to do when you were young. So this is like a downward spiral that that's going to eventually result in the diseases of aging. And by the way of which, I like to mention, aging has now been, the aging syndrome has been classified as a disease. Yes, so so it is regarded as a disease in the medical community now. We didn't used to treat it as such. We used to regard it as natural and not a disease, not something to be avoided or remedied. But we do now. So we're trying to understand. Now, Another thing I like to mention is the gene therapies. These are also very, very promising. So I'd like to mention a few people who are working on this. There's a telomere gene therapy, which I think you mentioned a few times already. So telomeres are the caps at the end of chromosomes.
Sure.
There are like a counter. Each time the cell reproduces, these telomeres shorten, and once
they shorten, that's right, yeah.
Right. Once they become very short, the cell refuses to divide. So basically, cellular reproduction stops, and that is considered a mechanism programmed cell death, right? So, but this is of course an adaptation, because with each division, there will be some DNA damage.
Yeah, of course there is. Yeah.
If this,
usually through trauma or injury or strain to the body's immune system or something like that. Usually, that's when it happens.
Right. So that there was this idea that if we prevented this mechanism, organisms would get cancer. But interestingly, like this didn't quite turn out to be the case. So telomerase enzyme extends the telomeres, and there's a gene therapy that promotes telomerase. This still looks like one of the promising candidates, so it's worth mentioning. The other very interesting gene therapy is myostatin gene therapy.
Myostatin, yeah, I've heard of that as well. Yeah.
Yes. So this increased muscle mass and strength in the mouse models.
So the four tissues, like the epithelial, the nerves, the muscle, and the connective tissue.
It's important because frailty, old age is a big issue.
Old age, right. So osteoporosis, arthritis, Parkinson's, dementia, all of those sort of things. That's right.
Well, this is probably related to all that, because if you don't lose muscle, I think your stem cells are going to be in better shape too. So it's right. So it's about maintaining some of your regeneration ability as well. It might be, we'll probably find that is indeed the case.
Yeah.
But not growing weaker when we age is good enough. Like it's an important part of not aging.
Right? Of course. Yeah. But we know from the age of 30 that the human body starts to degenerate. Doesn't it? It loses like 1% every year or something. And we lose like something like, is it 1 million cells per day that we don't use? So that weighs up at 1.2 kilograms a day. Even though we have 30 trillion, that we made up of 30 trillion, we still lose like a million cells a day because we don't use them. Did you know that? Quite a few.
Right. That's a lot. So
yeah, a lot. Yeah. It's something I came across in my research, and I was like, wow, that's a lot of cells that we lose, that we don't use. So definitely.
There's a lot of recycling in the
of course. Yeah, like the blood
going on. So as you know, like every 10 years, every cell is renewed.
That's correct.
The problem with aging is after 30, this balance changes. Like you're losing cells you don't want to lose.
That's right. Eyesight is one of them. Yeah.
Okay.
Metabolism is the other one. But definitely.
Right. But also you're not losing the cells that you really should lose. So senolytics achieves that.
Okay.
And myostatin achieves the other thing, that it ensures that you don't lose the very essential and important muscle cells.
Yeah.
So I think it's actually known that if you're strong, you recover faster.
That's correct. Absolutely. 100%. No doubt about that.
Right. So that's very important for old people. Like, because, if you're old, you might think that just by dieting, just by eating less and less, you will live longer. But the calculus there is not is not that simple. So that's why there is no magic bullet, right?
There's no red pill, no blue pill at the moment.
Right. So I mean, like I've just mentioned the synergy of two well-known gene therapies, but there are many more, and we don't really know the synergy of all these therapies, but it's conceivable.
Yeah, it's something to look forward to the future, definitely, for sure.
There is such a therapy, and one company is working on that. So I like to mention that.
Well, we've got a few minutes left, so if you want to just mention that or add it to your thread, and we can start. Add it to your...
Rejuvenate Bio is working on a new therapy, and they're trying it on dogs. George Church is targeting like 25 gene therapies, so that's probably going to work very well, because these are already in the literature. We know they're useful. So it's exciting new development. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, it looks like we're going to come to the end of our show shortly. We've got like about 2 minutes left. Is there anything you want to add? I know, because it's gone really, really fast, really quickly. I've had some comments here on the side. I don't know if you can see them as well. People been commenting. So we've got a few, like we've had Yasemin Sanel, a great program. Thank you. Very informative. We've got Mekella. We've got Erin Meto. We've got Yili. I agree with it as well. So there's loads of people there that, and some of them are beauty therapists. So and like in the field of longevity. So they're very interested to know some of the stuff that you're doing, Dr. ÖZKURAL.
So I like to add one thing. Like my own protocol combines the whole range of longevity therapies that are easy to apply, but I don't recommend the Kurzweil's protocol that consists of like 100 pills. That's like a shotgun approach. I don't recommend.
Of course,
I'm not recommending anything anyway. But if you're gonna try something, don't just take hundreds of pills a day. That's probably not the right thing.
Food is your medicine. We have to remember that food is medicine.
Right. But and you can look for. I mean, I posted it, but I'll.
You can add it to the thread at the end of the show, Dr. ÖZKURAL.
I posted Diana Minish's guide, what to eat to fuel a healthy mitochondria. There wasn't time to get into that, but it's the very basis of my protocol. And so the proper diet to feed our mitochondria better, better metabolism, and on top of that, intermittent high intensity resistance exercise, especially like weights. And after that, a bunch of longevity therapies. And in my approach, I use a combination of senolytic therapies, repair therapies, and growth therapies. For instance, royal jelly apitherapy is very effective. We just found that like in the last 2 years. So there are a lot of natural therapies that are super effective. And we don't need to use these harmful drugs with a lot of strange side effects, like metformin. That's actually a pretty risky drug. And so, I mean, be careful about drugs that are repurposed. Be careful about expensive supplements.
Of course, absolutely. I think the key there is, Dr. ÖZKURAL, is that people need to reduce their sodium levels, reduce their processed sugars, increase their protein levels, their fats, the essential fats, obviously for heart health, cardiovascular health, and obviously stay hydrated and stay focused, and obviously try to limit the amount of stress in the body, and obviously exercise.
Right, and
more nature.
As for diet, I have a simple preference. Eat a variety diet, like high variety, with high fiber content.
Of course, absolutely. So more nuts, more legumes, more fish, more fiber, more plant-based, vitamin C and vitamin D, magnesium and the folates.
Right. A special plant-based legumes and as protein source, legumes, nuts, and if possible, white meat. Right. So
what I'll do, at the end of the program, we're coming to the end. It's been great having you on here, Dr. ÖZKURAL. I'm so sorry I have to cut you short and everything. I'm getting the ticker up here as well. So what we can do, I'm going to have I have 6 more programs to do. So perhaps towards the last one, I can ask you to come back and talk some more. How would you feel about that? Would you like to come back on the show?
Of course.
You would like to come back on the show?
Right.
You'd like to. Okay. Well, what I'm going to do, I'm going to say goodbye to all the people watching this evening. It's been a pleasure having you on. So thank you so much for your wonderful time and your expertise and your incredible amount of knowledge. It's been really, really great seeing you. And, you know, this is the first time we've spoken since we friended each other many months ago. So it's been great to see you. Maybe not in real life, but it's been great. So thank you for coming on my show. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And I'd also like to say thank you. I'd like to say thank you to all the viewers who've been watching tonight, and to everyone who's contributed, who's made some really nice gestures there and some nice comments, positive comments. And we look forward to seeing you again on Thursday. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you. Thank you, Doctor. It's been a pleasure. Bye. Bye.
Welcome, we are Bologna, calling newlyweds or those looking for a new bedroom set. Venti 5-door bedroom set is not only glamorous and modern, but has storage inside the bed. This bedroom set was £3,700, now £2,395. Bologna, we are here for you.